In a world where women are still projected to wait over a century for gender parity, confidence isn't just a personal virtue, it's revolutionary currency. The gap between capability and confidence keeps brilliant minds silent, innovative ideas unshared, and powerful voices unheard. What if the most radical act of rebellion isn't fighting the system, but believing you belong in it? Behind every overnight success stands years of quiet doubt, and behind every bold leader lies countless moments of choosing confidence despite fear. This isn't just about feeling good, it's about changing who gets to lead, innovate, and shape our collective future. Enter Sheena Yap, a Wall Street Journal bestselling author and confidence strategist who has interviewed over 800 women on her journey to dismantle stereotypes that limit Asian women's potential. From dyeing her hair blonde to fit Western beauty standards to embracing her cultural identity, Sheena's personal evolution mirrors the transformation she now guides others through. Her groundbreaking books, including The Tao of Self Confidence, offer practical pathways through trauma toward authentic leadership. With each podcast episode, keynote speech, and workshop, she challenges the historical and cultural barriers that have kept women questioning their capabilities for generations. Sheena doesn't just talk about confidence, she embodies the power of showing up consistently, even when it's difficult, to create ripples of change across communities. Now, let's dive into our conversation with Sheena as she shares her inspiring journey and practical wisdom on building unshakable confidence in a world that often questions women's abilities.
Welcome to Impctrs Out Loud. I'm your host, Tracy B. Allen. Impctrs Out Loud is where social impact meets strategy, spotlighting trailblazing entrepreneurs, their challenges, and the revolutionary innovations driving real change. Each week, we dive into powerful stories, strategies, and insight to inspire and equip those passionate about making an impact through business. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Impactors Out Loud. And today we have with us Sheena Yap, and Sheena is going to tell us about herself, her cause tale, and the work that she does that impacts so many people in our community, because a lot of people suffer with what Tina is going to be talking about. So, Tina, take it away.
Hey, Tracy. Thank you so much for having me. So, hey, everyone. My name is Sheena Yap. I'm a Wall Street Journal bestselling author, keynote speaker, strategist, and podcaster on confidence and leadership. And for me, this is really important. Growing up in Toronto in the early 90s, I didn't have anybody in the media that looked like me. So part of me was ashamed of who I was, what I looked like, my culture. I wanted to have blonde hair and blue eyes to feel more accepted, to feel beautiful. And it wasn't until my 20s when I dyed my hair back from blonde to my original hair color where I felt myself and embraced my culture. And
Really?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it was a whole thing. And
Okay.
in 2015, as I was dealing with my own confidence issues, I was looking for resources that really catered to Asian women's confidence, but there
Mhm.
wasn't any. So part of me thought maybe something was wrong with me, that I was the only one dealing with this or feeling this way. But also
Mhm.
in Asian culture, we don't talk about our troubles or problems, what we go through. We have a lot of repressed feelings, which leads to a lot of issues we have today. And so I
Mhm.
decided, if I can't find the resource, I'll be the resource. And representation is very important to me because we hardly have any in the media. And
Mhm.
so I said, I can't keep on complaining and I'm not doing anything to work the
To
cause.
solve the problem.
Yeah. So I started my podcast,
Yeah.
Tao of Self Confidence, where I've interviewed over 800 women, mostly
Mhm.
Asian women, on the topic of confidence. And as much as I love my podcast, and you know how much a labor of love a podcast is,
It is.
it's still a very small platform compared to other media platforms.
Mhm.
And so I said, okay, I need to like diversify my visibility because I really want this message out. I really wanted to dismantle negative stereotypes of Asian women. And so
Mhm.
I dove into books. My first book was a co-authored book called um, Asian Women Who Boss Up, which highlights the stories of 18 Asian women sharing their stories.
Uh-huh.
And then that led me to writing my first book with a major publisher with Wiley called The Tao of Self Confidence, a guide to moving beyond trauma and awakening the leader within. And that became a Wall Street Journal bestselling book. And
Awesome.
I have my second book with the same publisher, which is called Bridging the Confidence Gap: How Empowered Women Change the World, which is coming out May 2026. Oh no,
Mhm.
May 2025. This
25.
this May.
Okay.
And this really stemmed from from the World Economic Forum mentioning that gender parity would be achieved at the earliest in the year 2154. But that's
Mhm.
actually at the time I wrote the book. So if you look at it now, it's actually delayed 4 more years. So now the earliest we'd be able to achieve it is in
Mhm.
the year 2158, which is like 133 years from now. So like 5 generations
Right.
from now, imagine you won't see it, our daughters won't see it, our granddaughters won't see it, and maybe our great-granddaughters won't see it.
Right.
So they say about 5 generations, and so for
Mhm.
me, helping women with confidence, building their confidence, helping them see their potential is so important because it's a huge problem right now, for sure. When you look at countries like Afghanistan, where women's basic human rights are actually stripped away from them in
Mhm.
2025, that is a big deal. And it doesn't matter what country you're from. I believe that if it can happen in one country, it can happen in other countries as well.
Absolutely.
So I also do talks. I also do workshops on confidence and leadership because I do believe that women are capable. The only problem is that women don't see it sometimes, right? And then also, outside forces also tell women they're not capable or they question their capability. And
Mhm.
so I want women to realize you're more than capable, like 100 million times more capable than you realize. And sometimes you just need a reminder or a push or have somebody else see your potential so that you could see it in yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Um, let's dive a little bit more into your story. So you said that you had blonde hair and you dyed it back black, and that's kind of took you on your journey. So before, when you had blonde hair, what made you want to dye your hair blonde? Like what was happening in the community or the surroundings that you were in at the time that made you feel like you needed to have blonde hair, and why was that an issue?
I think I just wanted to change, and then back in the day, like in the early 2000s, a lot of, people were dyeing their hair, right, different colors,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
an old
We
coworker
still do today.
yeah, an old
Yeah.
coworker told me, "You should change your look, why don't you try dyeing your hair?" I was like, "Okay."
Mhm.
So I did it, and then really when you think about it, this is probably the Asian side of me, like, retouching your roots ain't cheap, right? Like, it's like $80, like, every 2 to 3 months. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't want to do this, like, this is costly,
Mhm.
like, I still have a mortgage to pay for, and I'd rather put it towards that than retouching,
Yeah.
like, this much of my roots, like, every so often."
Mhm.
Because of that, when the hairdresser, like, unveiled my hair, to my original hair color, I was like, "Alright, this is who I am." Like, this is like, I finally saw who I was. I realized, I'm Asian, I'm never gonna have good blonde hair and blue eyes, even if I have fake ones, like, people will still know, and I'm gonna embrace it, and I'm just gonna embrace it. So that was the time that really helped me that cheapness of me helped me realize my true identity.
When you had blonde hair, did you feel like you were wearing a mask, or did you it just was here to you?
It was just I mean, I don't think I had any real like, I didn't feel like, I just thought, "Oh, this is cool." I have
Mhm.
new hair, it's blonde, it's different.
Mhm.
I'll try it out, see if other people like it. But yeah, like, other than that, it wasn't really such a big deal, but
Big deal. Okay.
yeah, I just wanted something different. Everyone's like, "Maybe you just need a new look," right? Sometimes we just wanna change things up.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And then so you realized that this is who you are when you got back your black hair. And how did that specific moment make you think about self-confidence as the route that you wanted to take to start talking about it and writing about it? Were you working in that area before?
Definitely not. I think at that
Okay.
moment, I just said, I'm okay being Asian," and then I kind of
Okay.
went on with life. I still had a
So
nine
that's
to
kind of what I was getting
yeah.
at from the previous conversation. Did having blonde hair make you feel less Asian and
Oh,
make you feel like you were assimilating more?
gotcha.
Mm,
Maybe to a point, a little bit, because I did live in Canada, and that was like
mhm.
the standard, right? So there was a little bit of it, but then,
Okay.
when I realized, oh, I have to keep this, upkeeping this was not, it's not
You're right.
even.
The
So
money aspect.
yeah, the money aspect, and that was in the early 2000s. Like that's still a lot,
Yeah.
right?
That's a lot of money back in the early 2000s for some hair color. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And just retouching roots too. So,
Mhm.
um, that wasn't the catalyst to start, talking about confidence.
Mhm.
Actually, about 13 years ago, my aunt passed away from a horrific accident, and
Oh, wow.
that actually made me realize how short our life is. And,
Mhm.
I was like, I haven't really done anything that I've really wanted to do, and like I could die the next day, really, when I think about it, right?
Mhm.
You just don't know how short life is, right? Anything can happen in a given moment. Um,
Right.
and so that was the catalyst actually that wanted me to just kind of forge my own path and see what that looked like. I mean,
Mhm.
nothing happened overnight, but it just was the start of me thinking, what can I do? What can I do to do something different? Like I want to travel the world. I want to do something that I wanted to do, that I wanted to like check off my bucket list, right? A lot of people have
Right.
these bucket lists, yet there's still a lot of people who hasn't checked it off, right? Who still feel like
Mhm.
they can't go out there and live life, or they wait till they retire to do that. And I personally did not want to wait till I retire, because what if, like, I don't even make it to retirement? I don't know, right?
That is very true.
No, right? Anything can literally happen. Like, even in the time that we're in, it's just so chaotic. It's like, one day everything's fine, and the next minute it's like terror force.
Mhm.
It's just wild. And so I wanted to live life as much as I could. So I went out, forged my own path. Um, like quit my job, sold my condo, and just figured it out. And I would not advise this for every single person. I
I
just
was
want
gonna say, that's
really
not gonna work for everybody
yeah,
now.
I wanted to say that because I don't want people like, "Sheena did it." I'm like, "Yeah, I had a
Right.
different situation." I mean, we know when people ask me like, "Do you think I should do it?" I'll be like, no." I mean,
Mm, no.
I don't know your situation. Like,
Mhm, mhm.
you have to figure it out and see if it feels
Yeah.
right for you, right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I decided to, like, go to Hawaii for 6 months, because living in Toronto in the winter is cold.
Brutal.
Really cold, and the
Yeah.
snow sucks. So I said,
Mhm.
and for some reason, like, Hawaii just popped up on my computer screen one day, and I just,
Mhm.
like, I think I just needed to go there, and I think the reason was really to just heal myself. Just heal everything, like learn to be in my own company, learn to enjoy my own company, because
Yes.
it's really rare. And so, and when you go to Hawaii, there's just like this energy that you can't explain, that kind of just like it calls to you. They're just like, come here. And I know you're like, okay, whatever. Everyone wants to go to Hawaii. Yes, everybody does
Mhm.
want to go to Hawaii, but it's totally different. Like there's this energy there that you just can't explain, that you just have to be there to experience it. And then in 2015, that's when I decided to start the podcast and kind of like roll over into like doing books and doing the stuff that I'm doing now.
What made you wanna start a podcast on confidence?
In 2015, I was, like I
Mhm.
mentioned, I was dealing with my own confidence issues, and then
Okay.
I was looking for resources that specifically catered to Asian women, but there wasn't
I
any.
got you.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's, I was like, if I can't find support, I'll be the support.
Be the support, right?
Even if I had no clue what that looked like, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes I think as women, and I'm not saying all women,
Mhm.
most women, when they go start out something, they feel like they need to have everything 110% ready before they go out there. Meanwhile, like men are like 20%, okay, maybe 30. I'll be nice, like 30% ready, and they'll just go for it, right?
Yeah, they will.
Regardless if they pass or fail, or if they fall down, they're happy that they did it and got the result, versus
Mhm.
wondering what if. And this is, if women did that, just imagine what we could achieve, right? And I get it. I've been there. I've been paralyzed by perfection. I've been paralyzed by like thinking I needed to know everything before putting it out there, when really you can just put it out there, and you can like pivot, course correct, whatever you call it, as you go in your journey, because that's how you create the results. That's how you figure out if something went right or wrong, right? You test things out, and then once you hit, oh, that work. Let's see. Let's keep doing that, right? Uh,
Right.
and so, like I still make a lot of mistakes. I mean,
Mhm.
I think that's okay to say, because we're human. We're not robots. We're not perfect. Um, but those mistakes can sometimes lead you to your greatest opportunities. So
Right.
that's how I always see things. Like if I make a
Mhm.
mistake, it's not the end of the world, and it could actually lead us to something better.
So starting your podcast was definitely the catalyst to writing books, becoming a New York bestseller, and all of the other things that came along with it.
Yeah.
So, do you still run your podcast today?
I do.
Okay.
Do still run it, not as much as before. So in the
Okay.
beginning, I was nuts. I decided to do 5 episodes a week, and I would not advise that for any other person. But now I've I've lessened it now to like once every 2 weeks because I've just have
Mhm.
other things going on, and I just really want to tap into other media platforms to really build that visibility because I think
Mhm.
visibility is so important,
It
especially
is.
especially as women, right? We're so afraid to
Mhm.
put ourselves out there. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're gonna have to learn to like self-promote
Yep.
and if you think
I
that
say that all the time. Yeah.
that's why we're in this show together.
Yeah.
Like I like I have a whole chapter dedicated to self-promotion on my upcoming book because I
Mhm.
understand that, till this day, women are vilified or, they think that women shouldn't be self-promotion. They think it's not ladylike, it's tacky. And I'm like, who
Mhm.
even said that? Probably a man, right? Because a woman wouldn't say that. And but really like self-promotion is empowering, right? It helps you
It
build
is.
confidence, it helps you build leadership skills, and it's not like I love self-promotion. In fact,
Mhm.
I would rather hide and just watch K-dramas all day long if I could. But I understand that if I put myself out there, I'm helping other women see
Mhm.
that it's okay, and then they can also have the courage and confidence to promote what they have. Because for me, if you have a product and service that really can create this big impact in the world for the
Mhm.
better, then why wouldn't you put it out there? Why wouldn't you put the work that you put your blood, sweat, and tears in, and then you're
Right.
too afraid to show it? I mean, I always love using the Barbie movie because before the movie came out, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing the color pink. Like, the
Mhm.
fact that there was an Xbox Barbie edition was, like, wild, and because they
Mhm.
had that, just nonstop promotion before the movie came out, that movie broke records, broke
It
barriers.
did.
It was the
It
first
did.
movie that made the first movie to reach $1 billion that was solely led by a female director, right? And people for so long, Hollywood thought women aren't bankable. Yet
Mhm.
we have a movie here about a doll, not even a big budget movie like superhero
Mhm.
like movie, a doll, right? And I'm
Mhm.
not saying that that movie wasn't cheap, but the fact that that made $1 billion speaks volumes, right? And not only in the movies, all the collaborations they had, right? Whether it's Barbie luggage, like I mentioned,
Mhm.
Xbox, clothing, even an Airbnb themed Barbie house, right? Like
Yes.
that, it became like a whole
Mhm.
empire. So this is why for me, self-promotion is empowering. It helps you be visible, be seen. And I like imagine, to anyone listening, if you had that kind of visibility, how would that change your life, right? Like
Mhm.
people coming to you, people wanting to buy your product, people actually like knocking on your door saying, "Here's my credit card." Like just I want to
Take my
just
money.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to what you were saying about self-promotion and confidence, I think they go hand in hand. Um, I've had that issue myself and a lot of the clients, because when I do consulting for my nonprofit, and I tell them they have my nonprofit consulting clients, I tell them they have to go in front of the camera, they have to tell their story, they need to tell why they started their nonprofit, who they serve, how they serve them, transformative effects, give some data around the cause that they're championing. And it is a struggle because I'm too fat. I don't know how to speak in public. I don't, it's like a whole litany of excuses that they have as to why they cannot get in front of the camera and start talking confidently about what it is that they do every day. And it just comes down to a lack of self-confidence. And a lot of people will not identify that because they're like, I'm confident. I don't have any problems with myself. But when you make excuses for things that put you in the forefront all the time about why you can't do that, it is a lack of self confidence, whether
Yeah.
you want to admit it or not, or whether you know it or not, you know?
So,
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it just, it's also a sign that we personally think we can't do the job or we're not capable. And
mhm,
I never want that in any person, let alone a woman, right? I want
mhm,
women to be reminded that they're more than capable. Like I recently watched Running Point on Netflix, and it's about Kate Hudson's family, who owns like a basketball team, and she was appointed president to their family's basketball team, right?
mhm.
And her brothers were like they asked her, "Are you capable of doing this?" And it's like, "Excuse me? Would you ever ask a man if they're capable?" Even though sometimes you see
Right.
them in the media and they're far from it, unfortunately.
Mhm.
We just won't name any names, but like time and time again, when a woman is in a leadership position, that's the first thing a person will ask. Are you
Right.
capable? Is she capable? And the answer is yes. Yes, yes, yes. Will it be perfect? No.
Not necessarily.
We might have we might have to work 100, 1,000 times harder because
Mhm.
we're seen as a woman, let alone being a woman of color, but we are capable, right? And when actions speak louder than words, that's when people won't say anything because you're out
Right.
doing the work. You're out there taking action. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And self confidence is something that you need, like you said earlier, too, as an entrepreneur, because you do have to self promote. You have to be able to get out there and talk about your business, whether it's in person or on camera or podcast or whatever it is. You have to be able to get out there and confidently speak about what it is that you do in order to be successful. A lot of times I see people ask, well, how did she get to wherever, especially with women? How did she get to the point that she's at now, where she's making 1.5 million or whatever, and all of these followers, getting all these speaking engagements? Is because that person bet on themselves and they decided that, hey, in order for me to be where I need to be, I have to step out. I have to go out there. And even though I'm scared, at least appear as if I am confident, right?
Yes,
And so that is the first step.
I love that because people might think I am confident, and I'm not
Mhm.
saying I'm not, but there are times where I'm like, "Oh my goodness, what am I gonna do here?" Or like someone
Right.
asks me a
We
question.
all have those moments.
Yeah,
We
or
all have them. No
someone
matter
will
how many times you do the one task, the bigger the crowd gets or the situation
yeah,
can create some type of anxiety in you going, do I really belong here?
yep,
Can I really do this?
yeah,
you know?
or like someone will ask me a question and I totally wouldn't know the answer, and I sometimes have this look like, "Oh no, what am I gonna say?" Or like, "Oh shoot, like what's gonna"
Right.
So it's so
Mhm.
we all go through it, and I love that you mentioned, yes, we may appear confident, but that's what confidence is. Even despite having those fears, you move forward, you push forward because it's not just about you, and especially
Mhm.
in this day and age, especially with what's going on with women all over the world, we need more women out there stepping out, sharing their voices, putting themselves out there. And also like being okay to make the first move in your business, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes we feel like things are going to come to us and it's like no, not everything's going to come to us. Sometimes you got especially nonprofit. If you're in like you're nonprofit, right? Like I mean, they got to go there and knock on doors
You
and be
have
like,
to really sell yourself
Can I have some
and
money?"
your organization.
Right?
Yes,
If you knock on as many doors, someone's gonna give you money, right? But that
exactly.
won't happen if you don't go out there knocking on doors. Same
Mhm.
thing in business, right? Promote yourself, knock on doors, reach out to companies, reach out to potential clients. Like outreach is huge, right? And for me, like
Mhm.
I do a lot of outreach, and people probably don't realize that. And
Mhm.
yes, there's times where I question myself, and then when I see a result, I'm like, you know what, forget it. Like I get results because I reach out, right? People are like,
Yeah.
how do you do that? I'm like, I do it, and I do it
Mhm.
because I practiced this for so long. It started with reaching out to women on my podcast, and then reaching out to companies, reaching out to other people who might
Mhm.
be like a potential collaboration or what that may look like. Um,
Mhm.
I think we've been programmed that things are going to come to us when really it's not, right? Like
Yeah.
especially in the dating world, right? We're waiting for men to come to ask us out. If we were to do it the other way around, it's like, oh my God, that's so tacky, that's so desperate. How dare you? Even though most women I know that landed
Mhm.
their husbands are like, "I had to make the first move because they were so shy."
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah.
see, we haven't been taught to do that, right? Like, men have been taught to practice
Mhm.
self-confidence. Like, if a man goes to a club, his goal is to get 1 number. 1 number. So
Mhm.
if he has to go through 100 girls in the club to get 1 number, he'll do it. He doesn't care if he gets slapped, if a drink if he gets thrown a drink on his face.
Mhm.
If he
Mhm.
gets the 1 number, he's good. He got his goal. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I'm not saying women should do that. I'm just saying they've been practiced. So, like, it takes
Mhm.
a lot of practice to start reaching out to potential clients, to potential companies, to, if you have a podcast, potential guests, right? Whether
Mhm.
it's like a Facebook post calling out, "Hey, I need guests." That's still reaching out, right? Because you're asking, and people will either come to you or they will
Mhm.
refer someone to you. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine what you can achieve when you just go out there and reach out to what you really want to go after for.
So, besides the podcast and the books, do you do consulting for clients, on an individual or corporate basis?
Yeah, I do workshops, consulting. I do talks for organizations,
Mhm.
corporations, clients. I have a confidence visibility blueprint because I understand how important being visible is and having the confidence to do that because it's not always, I totally get it's not always easy. Believe me, I was not like this when I first started. I remember
Mhm.
having my first blog and posting it on Facebook. And
Mhm.
on Facebook, you can change the settings to see who could see it. I literally
Right.
put just myself. It's so
Really?
I was so scared to share it with everybody. So if
Uh-huh.
you think I've always been this I wasn't. Like, I was like, "I'm just gonna put on private," but at least
Mhm.
I posted it, right? So it took steps, but that's how it was. Or when I did my first YouTube video, it was
Mhm.
horrendous. Like, it took me 2 hours to film a
Mhm.
2-minute video, and it was about
'Cause you
how
wanted it to be perfect, and every mistake you made, you
yeah,
started over and
yep,
over and over.
and then
Yeah.
the
I
fear
had to get over that as well, and I
fear
tell
too, right?
people yeah,
Because
I tell people, when you're having a conversation in real life, you make mistakes in the conversation, you say words incorrectly, or you say the wrong phrase or whatever, you just said, "Oh, no," and you keep going in the conversation, right? You was like, "Oh, I meant whatever," and you keep going. So, why do you think that when you appear on camera, you're not a Hollywood star or reporter, and even they make mistakes sometimes when you listen to news reports, but they apologize, so keep going, or they just keep going. You catch it, you caught it. If you didn't, you did it, right? And they keep going. But when because we're our worst critic, when we get in front of the camera, we expect ourselves to be perfect. So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves that is unwarranted.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I've
Yeah, it's
I've been
unwarranted.
I've enjoyed this conversation a lot.
Yeah. What are what would you say are the top 3 things that you see that most people, most women, because it's women that you deal with, that they lack confidence in? What 3 areas?
And so I think for me, it's just their ability, like they just don't think they can do it or there's someone else who can do it. Like
Mhm.
imposter syndrome is
Right.
more prevalent for women than men, right? So they think they're fraud, there's someone better out there.
Mhm.
Also, trauma plays a huge role. People don't realize their traumas really stop us from moving forward. It's the
Mhm.
reason why I wrote my first book because people kept asking me, "How do I build confidence? How do I build confidence?" And I can totally tell you 101 different ways to do it. But if you don't get to the root cause as to why it's stopping you from moving forward, then whatever I tell you is not going to work. So you really got to
Mhm.
figure out what that trauma is. And unfortunately, it's not just your trauma that you're carrying. You're also
Mhm.
carrying your parents, your grandparents, intergenerational trauma is prevalent. And for me, I believe for women especially, historical trauma also we carry, right? Because women have always been second class to men, regardless of what culture you're in. Mostly, women were always treated unfairly or treated as like an object. Like in Chinese
Right.
culture, men were allowed to have multiple wives and concubines, right?
Mhm.
And the sole reason was there's better chances of them getting a son to carry the family name. So imagine all that trauma all these women have gone through being the second wife, the third wife, the fourth wife, being
Mhm.
the concubine. like that takes a toll, right? And if that it was passed on for so many generations and dynasties, just imagine
Mhm.
how much trauma was passed on because of it. So that's another area. And then also just social media also plays a huge role, right? Like, the perfect photos, the perfect filters, we have to show up
Mhm.
a certain way, especially when you hit a certain age, like ageism. People think if you hit a certain age, you're too old to do this, you're too old to do that. And I really just want people to realize you're not too old to do anything. Like I remember seeing a Japanese woman who started her modeling career in her 70s and is thriving, which I think is awesome.
Mhm.
In the Olympics last year, there was a 57-year-old lady who just decided she's gonna enter the Olympics for the first time in her life at the age of, like, 57.
Mhm.
I think is awesome because for so long, especially women, like we've been told, well, you're expired once you hit a certain age. And I don't want women to think that. And then also just seeing all these perfect bodies, perfect faces, not realizing, and I'm not saying all of them are doing, but there a lot of them do edit it, right? They edit
Yeah.
their hips, they edit their face, they have these beauty apps to make you look
Mhm.
better. I mean, even during the pandemic, they were saying that a lot of people got surgery because they went through Zoom dysmorphia. Like, can you imagine that? Zoom dysmorphia. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it does happen. Like body dysmorphia is a huge problem, not just in women, in men
Mhm.
too, mostly women, of course, but men also deal with it. And so we feel like we need to be a certain size to feel beautiful, or we have to have like whatever that definition of the perfect body is to feel beautiful. And like, sometimes the older you get, you're not gonna have the same metabolism in your 20s
Right.
or 40s, like, it's a lot harder, so
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's another thing, right? Just we feel like we always have to be perfect on social media, not realizing,
Mhm.
well, some of these people have a lot of, like, skeletons in the closet, so I hope those are the 3 areas that answered your question.
Yeah. When you encounter your clients that have a deep lack of self-confidence due to trauma, how do you deal with that? Like, what are the stages that you will take them through to get past that? Do you bring in a psychologist or a psychiatrist? Like, just
Yeah.
a brief
I
description of what
I
you would
I
do.
definitely would refer them to I have friends who are licensed therapists, I would refer it to
Mhm.
them. I don't because I'm not licensed, that's not something that I specialize in, right? I just want them
Right.
to see the root cause, and then we can find different ways to help them do that. And if
Mhm.
that means, like, having a mental health therapist is necessary, then I will refer them.
Okay.
This is about helping that person. I know I could be like, well, I could just be a trauma expert and just charge them more. But it's like, no,
Mhm.
for me, that doesn't feel good. It really
Right.
feel good. And I believe karma will pay you back, right? Tenfold. So for me,
Yeah.
I can identify like if I ask the right questions, I can identify what that root cause is. Having
Mhm.
them realize this trauma has really been stopping them is great. And then I'll say, hey, I have a friend actually who does this work. She's a licensed therapist. And
Mhm.
so, and plus it's kind of like illegal if you're sending advice and you're not certified. So it's like
Right. Yeah.
you have to be careful with
Mhm.
everything. You just don't know. And so I just refer it to my friends who are mental health therapists. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So tell me, if you need, we want you to leave the audience with three strategies that they can use to become more confident in their lives. It's not going to, I just want to make the disclaimer, it is not going to be a magic pill, guys, but it's going to be three steps that you can take today to try to build your self confidence. What would those three things be?
For sure. So one thing I do is when I'm feeling moments of self-doubt, I say 3 things to myself. So, affirmations are powerful. You don't need to say 120. I just have 3. So you
Mhm.
can say, I am loved, I am worthy, I am enough. And yes, in the beginning, it's gonna feel weird and uncomfortable. So I'm just warning you. But the more you keep saying it, the better you feel at it. So affirmations, what you say to yourself matters. How do you talk to yourself matters. So you got to learn to be your own best friend and not be your worst enemy. The second thing I would say is take small, actionable daily steps. Like you don't have to make big leaps to build confidence. The big results that we get really yield from those daily actionable steps. So whether it means having a tracker, like I actually have a daily tracker that people can get, where they can just track what they do, right? That helps them be accountable. And when
Mhm.
they can see what they've accomplished, it really helps them. So like, let's say you want to write a book because everybody wants to write a book and they think, oh, this is like a big deal. It's gonna take me 20 years to do this. So I tell them just, you know, how about you just commit to writing one page a day? 1 page a day, right? For a whole year straight. If you did that, you would have one full book or
Yeah.
two books. You could split it into two books. So just take the
Mhm.
small actionable daily steps and like one of the things I like doing is taking time for yourself. Self-care and self-love is essential. And yes, it may sound cheesy, but it's really important. You really got to learn to love yourself unconditionally and find that time to take care of yourself. And that self-care can look different for everybody. It could be journaling, it could be walking, taking a walk outside. It could just be watching 90 Day Fiancé. I don't care what that looks like. It has to be your time to just decompress and just take time for yourself. Especially as women, we do a lot. We do a lot, right? Especially if you're a mother, you're not just running a business or working a full-time job. You're taking care of your kids, you're running errands, you're taking care of other family members, and it gets exhausting, right? And we feel like we always have to serve everybody and we forget to take care of the most important person, which is ourselves. So
Mhm.
having a self-care routine is really important. Even if it means just 5 minutes of your day, it's better than zero.
Awesome. And tell us what makes you an impactor?
Oh wow, what a great question. I think just showing up
Mhm.
because showing up isn't easy all the time. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Sheena, thank you so much for being a guest on Impactors Out Loud today. I really enjoyed our conversation around confidence and how to build it and how you got to this point of even writing the books, doing the podcast, doing the consulting, all around confidence, because people don't realize how important it is to be confident within yourself because it can keep you from so many things. It can keep you from life itself if you don't have that confidence. So tell people the name of your books again, where they can find them, how they can get in contact with you, and any other information you want them to know.
For sure. So feel free to check out my website, sheenayapchan.com. I actually have a free self confidence quiz that you can take. It tells you what self confidence personality you have. So that's free to take. For my books, The Tao of Self Confidence, it's available for purchase now on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and other book retailer outlets worldwide. Um, the upcoming book, The Tao, no, Bridging the Confidence Gap, How Empowered Women Change the World, it's actually available for pre-order, so you can pre-order it now on the same book retailers, Amazon, Barnes& and Nobles, Target, Walmart, any other book retailers out there. You can check out the Tao of Self-Confidence podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I know it's like a whole thing. I'm like out of breath.
All social media platforms.
If you forgot anything I said, if just Google my name, Sheena Yapchan, because I'm the only Sheena Yapchan on the internet.
All right, that's great. Most of us don't have that privilege of being the only us on the internet. So
Yeah,
that's great. All right, Sheena, thanks again so much for being our guest here today. And I wish you all the best. And until next time, guys, bye.